which I think was a where they got it from. It's just like put, oh, let's slap a logo on it, call it a day type of thing.
Fire Festival.
Saw 4:30 when they gave these fucking podcast people. And said, Blink 182 just pulled out. You know, you still want to get on the plane. Their reasoning wasn't anything like, don't go, it's a disaster. It's just like, we don't think we can put on the show that our fans deserve.
Once upon a time. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. There was a girl. And she rode upon the back of a great fox. But they were lost. They had always been lost. Until it happened to her. And so she followed. Was the path leading her? Or was she really lost? She didn't know. It was just there. All of a sudden, she knew where she was. She was home. The woods that sheltered her as a child.
That man is absurdly attractive. The guy's talking with an amazing voice.
Tents are soaked, mud is sliding into on the carpets. What was already this kind of very loosely put together festival over advertised has now
Maybe I will.
evolved into something much worse.
Maybe I'll switch sides.
Houses, we didn't have enough beds, we didn't have enough sites, we didn't have any staff. You're hourly on that site. Overwhelmed. So I'm getting phone calls, I'm trying to charge my phone, and the calls are to get me to the food production house. So I get there, and it's mayhem.
This is interesting.
What happened 12 before her?
Because he's like hyperventilating in the bedroom. You know, people are crying and it's all these emotions. And I was like, okay, get your shit done. I'm literally getting now physically pulled in different directions by these visitors. This person arrived at this person.
Path stretched deeper into the forest.
Damn.
She remembered animals frolicking in the glades. She remembered planting flowers.
Where can I go? Where do we go?
This is the campsite. Where is the campsite? Where's my luggage?
And I was like, what's the last time?
She fled the woods to begin to wake up around her.
Rattled off. Oh my god. Let's see. What's that? They're in a fucking school bus.
Where? Why?
Oh. Holy shit! Oh no.
She remembered discovering
Jesus. You're now a refugee in the Bahamas.
she would have to burn the bandit before she could pass through.
He's just not gonna do it.
The more she remembered, the stronger she felt. She remembered exploring the twisted paths.
That's one of the annoying parts. Is just here's like pulsating. One of the hostesses or one of the staff comes to this place. We cannot hear anything as we try to check in. After 5 minutes, we had the lab. Everyone was like,
This is not cool.
Oh my goodness. There's enough of them they can literally tear limb from limb and no one would get in trouble.
Dangers awaited beyond the forest. She had to be
Go
strong
back.
as she could be.
Damn.
And there was just this massive noise.
She remembered finding magical things in the water.
Truck containers, the 18-wheeler containers, they just said everyone grab your bag. It was just a frenzy. Everyone was just looking for, their black bag amongst a sea of black bags. If they had to climb over you and stomp over you to get their piece of luggage, so be it.
Sensing a terrible wrongness, she looked up. And fire fell from the sky.
Oh my god, looks like a fucking horror show.
Wow.
Our strategy from there was to kind of ransack all the tents around us. Start poking holes and flipping mattresses.
What the
And the
fuck?
star died.
What?
The moon fell.
People was just walking from over there.
What?
Walking from this one around to that one.
She didn't know that she wasn't home anymore.
Shit.
Triton's chattering creatures began to appear.
Screaming in background.
Second thoughts. Mission moth.
My guess is most of them never went to sleep. Some woman came in
God.
Sweet. This game is fun.
The trees began to give way to ash and tar. She headed towards the source of fire, because if she didn't, who would?
You.
This is what Fire Festival is. Tweets just started going viral. It was just kind of the
This was where the meteor had struck.
real time.
The path ended here.
I saw the Twitter post.
Or did it begin?
That's what you get. That's what you get. I hope you like it.
That was my idea. This was dumb. You remember the New York Times came out with an article that talked about this entire Fire Festival, and they talked about it very matter of fact from an operational perspective. What they didn't talk about, which I think was something that was missed, was a couple of powerful models posting an orange tile is what essentially built this entire festival, and then one queue with probably 400 followers posted a picture of cheese on toast that trended and essentially ripped down the festival. All I know is that people were stoked watching this thing go down.
Every time he escapes.
They're definitely
Ja Rule!
meaningful response on social media from people that weren't there. The way that it seemed like it happened is
Everyone's having a great time at the festival. Period.
with, Instagram's top influencers.
Graham
Little
was still
vibration.
calling orders and asking us to do
Would I go?
I said, no, Graham, we're not posting any more promises. We're not trying to propel this vision any further. You know, this thing is dead. And then I think like 3 minutes later, I get a text from Grant introducing me to their new social media feed. Can you please send him over the credentials? I just remember calling John. He wasn't even there yet. And saying, like, there's no
Oh.
way this is happening. I'm sending out the email. I really don't care at this point. And then I told Billy I canceled the acts, and at that point he knew everything had fallen apart already. And he was pacing back and forth out of the terrace. I could see that there were tears in his eyes. That was the first time that any of us had seen that thick and thin. He stayed so positive, and it wasn't until that day things started
She found herself alone, lost in darkness.
I mean, he went from 2 days before to the next day after the heart.
Fire roared behind her. The meteorite had buried itself deep. Wicked things rushed from its throat. Briar and Brandon blocked the sky. Telling the story of another world. Or perhaps another life.
What?
So it makes sense. There's no food on the island.
It's less stamp. So, this is terminal. Yep, chain them in. You're staying in there overnight. You haven't passed out from exhaustion.
The cavern closed in around her. Suffocating. They came from the darkness, like fear manifested,
Be one, as there could be more of you.
and only fire escaped. She saw something like
But apparently they weren't all
power
that.
which needed cannot strike.
One of my head construction guys came to me and said, Andy, I just want $6,000 in cash, and I want to he was a big guy. And
Something new flowed through her veins. It cleared away the loneliness inside.
finance, and he had an outlet at the University of the Bahamas.
Sweet.
Working on the song for you. A month and a half without being paid. The restaurant realized that, all of this that was collapsing started rightfully so demanding their payment. So there was a sort of a strike.
It was a strike.
And we have word that there's an angry mob of grateful brigades. They're pissed off and they want their money.
Yeah, that's the dude didn't get paid.
And revealed new paths all around her.
I didn't even know where Billy went. I went to the whole side.
hits.
The maze began to crumble before them.
Oh my god, that's great.
People running away from their cars. Flee.
Nothing stood in her way.
Just fled the island. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Mm-hmm. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Definitely had a post-traumatic syndrome like many of us did for weeks. And a lot of it was a guilt feeling of, did I abandon everybody? I was the one that would continue to say, listen, I have been working with Billy for 4 or 5 years now. Trust him. This kid is amazing. I think we can do this. As I was able to reflect on this world, that I have probably led a lot of kids on. You know, you just go with somebody, get that energy, and
So what we're saying is that corporate hierarchies are like cults.
Paintings began to linger.
Damn.
The software developers. Spin it.
Vast majority of us on this phone call were one, not involved in the festival, and are actively told not to be involved. So it was, painful to be honest. We put, a big, very talented team with a ton of hours into this. So the reality is that I just believed in the core outcome of it so much that I think I was blind to a lot of what was kind of going on internally with what we were doing.
I mean, it was something that we worked on for an entire year. And because of the festival, we lost everything within seconds.
Are they just going to work without
The
pay?
cavern opened up before her, like a cathedral. And there stood the meteor's heart.
No.
Ah, bitch.
Organic, and like a bunch of celebrities and famous people were planning to attend this music festival, and that's why the impact and the reach, in my mind, was as great as it was.
That is like a big criticism of people like RPG like Parkinson thing. It wasn't real.
Here's them covering their ass.
Was real.
She emerged once more into the light, though the ground would be forever marked. Green sheets of moonlight surrounded her.
How can the fuck do you possibly know whether or not they're going to do good on what they said they were going to do? That's like saying the sound guy at MTP.
Foulness still festered here. The bitter taste of corruption clung to the lamp like a slug. To the next stretched the forest.
They all kept working and then Billy scheduled an all-hands meeting where he was going to debrief everyone.
We're not firing anybody.
Hetty smells of pine and moss drew her closer.
Damn. Yes, you fucking do, you goddamn liar.
And then she saw the shadow within her.
Are you guys still on the line? Yeah. Does anybody arrive?
The forest was a place of light and peace. She barely recognized it. Beneath the darkness, shadowed and sick. The forest resisted her approach. She knew its secret language.
I was happy to talk to him because I felt that there was some justice happening here.
I spoke to the FBI, of course. That was the first time I really understood what Billy had done.
The forest opened to her with heavy heart.
Bitch.
The woods thinned, growing shy. She began to fear the emptiness, more than she feared the shadows. She helped the forest to grow.
business.
He's an operations associate. And the reason he racked up millions of dollars on the fire at Amex card was to pay for Magnesis tickets for his Magnesis users. He got almost all of it paid off except for the remaining $250,000, which is now I'm being sued by Amex.
That's $150,000 of outstanding bills on my personal American Express because of the festival as well.
We lost a lot of money. A lot of money. A lot. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not a doubt.
A lot of people didn't get paid. A lot of my workers didn't get paid. He kept on saying, the money's coming.
There came a nest of darkness. She was strong. Nicholas sighed inwardly.
The Kickstarter.
What's going on? I want you to answer. Because they really, really, really hurt me. I am really hurt from them. It's no problem. I care what she has done. They know she has done right.
Forrest closed to her once more. She didn't understand why.
It really pains me when I have to talk about it, so I just wipe it away.
These guys are already coming later. He was released on Saturday on $300,000 bail. He claims he is broke. He has apparently moved back in with his parents.
Fortunately, I think Billy is currently living in the basement of his parents' New Jersey home. He's no longer in his penthouse. He's no longer riding around in Maseratis and flaunting the wealth of his home.
Out on parole. We can monetize our failure.
So I hadn't spoken to Billy since he was arrested and released on bail. So he asked us to come down to this hotel where he was staying at. And he asked us if we could bring our video equipment, we could do all of that stuff. And we didn't really know what we were going to be filming.
Sometimes it tried to guide her in its way.
Where the fuck did he get that money?
What?
There's a guy named Angel, and I don't know if it was Billy's PR guy, but I know that this guy was very connected.
Forrest yearned for her to want
What did they say he was affiliated with former Senator Chuck Schumer? I'm not going to jail, that's all I have to say.
Taylor Swift and more, we want to one-up your New Year's resolutions by making your dreams become a reality. Please email or call to reserve Frank, Burning Man 2018, Courtside at MSG, and Dinner with LeBron, Victoria, Secret Fashion Show, Met Gala, Red Carpet, and Gala tickets. Please email, text, or call me to reserve. First come, first serve. Frank.
So basically, selling 2018 branded tickets, VIP access, baby. What's the next number?
I first started hearing about the NYC VIP access emails in December when I realized that multiple people who had attended the festival were getting these emails. That was when I really started to look at it more seriously. Met Gala tickets can't be purchased, and anyone who attends has to be approved by Anna Wintour in advance. Victoria's Secret show hadn't even been cast yet. Taylor Swift, she's very open about the fact that she doesn't do meet and greets. Burning Man told me that they had not sold any tickets and that there are no sponsors who would have tickets available. Pretty much everything that they offered was debunked through just a quick phone calls or a Google search.
Oh my god. Yep, he's wearing a fire t-shirt and he's wearing a Magnesis hat.
Usually the people who are around Billy I'm familiar with. The strangest thing was he actually had on like a Magnesis hat. He had on like a fire sweater.
Frank is, I think, 22 or 23, and Billy had reached out to him and said, I'm starting this company.
This fucking shit heels our age walking around fucking doing this stupid shit.
There's something rotten here. Forced to find an echo of its story. Creeping cobwebs choked. Sinister shadows spoiled.
Passed out. The spirit of his scam lives on.
Fraud, money laundering, identity theft, and witness intimidation. After he warned at least 2 people not to talk to the FBI and to pretend that they were represented by legal counsel when they were not.
I mean, the idea of him doing this while he's out on bail is mind-blowing to me.
On bail? I can't believe
Biggest microscope, and then you're gonna go and commit another scam. Like, I just don't understand why you just stop.
No.
He just flat out asked me, he was like, what was it like? And I was like, it's 23-1 for the first 7 days. He was like, it was 23-1. He's like, you in fucking cell for 23 hours. And then they let you out for 1. And you better stretch your legs, walk around, do whatever you need to do, but you in there until you process, and then after that,
It needed to be free.
so you get sent up north. And I remember the energy of it.
She burned away the blight. The forest would learn to love once more.
What he knew, what he experienced in his life, that the cognitive dissonance just led him to say, I'm not going to jail.
We planted the seed together.
I'm not going to jail.
I will always love you.
Denial.
Denial.
Denial. Denial.
I reflected on myself.
I'm just definitely still letting it fall out.
To what extent was I guilty? To what extent was I
Gas.
And I look back
That's like a long.
Yeah,
It's 2 more hours.
It's almost over.
6 more hours.
6 more hours. Alright.
So, I'm gonna guess you don't want to rewatch the thing. I guess.
Not much actually.
Well, just the one thing is that when they finally caught him and they basically put him in jail and they let him out on bail.
No, I already got that part.
And while he was on bail, he just ran another scam where he just scammed $100,000 out of people. And despite the fact he was broke, he lived in his parents' house. When he was out on bail, he was out in his fucking penthouse with a shit ton of money. Somehow, continuing to scam people on bail. And they asked a guy, like, okay, so what was the conversation you had? He's like, well, Billy asked me, what's it like being at jail flat out? He said, well, you're at 23-1 for the first 7 days. He goes, what's 23-1? He's like, you're in a fucking cell for 23 hours, and they let you out for 1. You better stretch your legs, because you're going back in after the hour's over. You're in there. So you're processed up north. And he says, that's something so far away from what he knew. The cognitive dissonance led him to say, I'm not going to jail. That's what Billy said. I ain't going to jail, no matter what. Oh, she passed out already. So, listen to this. Sentenced to 6 years in federal prison and agreed to a lifetime ban on serving as a corporate officer or director.
Sweet.
Ja Rule partnered with M. David Lowe to launch a new talent booking platform called Icon. Grant Mergelin agreed to 7-year director and officer bar and as $35,000 penalty, but did not manage to deny any of the SEC charges. Seth Corsano and his friend were awarded $5 million in judgment against Billy McFarland. They're still waiting to collect. They're not getting money.
Seemed to exhale as she left.
Someday.
For a while, I couldn't interpret what that was. Why he was so friendly with Billy after he had essentially cheated him just like he did everyone else. A part of me thought that he didn't bear ill will against Billy, and that was just basically him, Billy's personality still affecting him despite everything that had happened to him. Or it was somehow that he's still been talking to him, and he still wants his vengeance. But he had to pretend to be nice to him. So when push came to shove, he could still talk to him and get whatever juicy bits he needs. And so that's why he's there telling everyone and all the shit he did. But yeah, he kept pulling those scams, and he's targeting people who went to Fire Festival and their emails.
Oh, man.
It was crazy, stupid bullshit. But yeah, it's just getting people to pay for experiences. You know, people don't want stuff; they want to feel special, or they want to be a part of something and shit. And people figured out how to sell it to people.
Man.
Nothing to say from Capital. That's the story of Fire Festival. Just like anything under capitalism, it degrades and becomes a nightmare that doesn't actually deliver what it promises. All that matters is what you can try and pull from people in the moment. And sometimes you get people break the law, sometimes you just get just the shitty status quo of companies just getting more cash for delivering very little.
I could host an event at the community center.
What turned out better than that?
Yeah.
It's like this was like, man, if he did pull that off, it could have been the biggest thing ever, right? But he was too fucking hasty. What made him
a liar, basically.
Yeah, what made him a good businessman, his lying, his impulsiveness, his inability to let anyone or anything stop him from doing something, those things made him a good businessman. It made him very persuasive. But it's also the reason why he couldn't build anything real. He's good at the money and the shit, but not at actually making or producing anything that's worthwhile. But in the end, that's all that being a CEO, a marketing person really is they don't produce anything of value at all. But, yeah, man, like, fuck it. Poor fucking workers, man. I feel worse about them because they gotta just go home and just deal with the no pay. And the months of their life they're never get back. They're like, no fuck. And I thought it was crazy because everyone's just literally running away from it, fleeing, and fucking out. There's an angry mob of workers coming to tear people apart. It couldn't have gone worse than it had. They skipped. I actually want to know more about what happened to the people who actually attended. We heard a lot, but I think there's some horror stories that are only hinted at in that documentary.
I feel like some of them are lost in the Bahamas somewhere.
Yeah, they're still there.
Everybody probably got stolen. It's probably the worst thing that happened. This is their belongings got stolen.
Cynical mind that I have. I think some assault happened there in the middle of the night. Yeah. As bad as things got. No, that's not the kind of assault I'm talking about.
Rape.
Okay, well, fine. Just bring up. But I actually think that there was accounts of stuff like that happening. It's that crowd of 6,000 people in the dark, looting and like pillaging, and like fighting each other and shit. Like, yeah, it was an utter disaster. I think the kids were locked in the fucking airport. So a few of them passed out from heat exhaustion from the being in there. And they all had to get, because they had no money because the wristband shit. They were stuck in a foreign country, and they basically needed to get help from the embassy for them to get home. If they weren't able to get to the embassy, then they would be stuck there in a foreign country with no money. Yeah, it was the worst thing that could have possibly happened. He would torn Billy McFarlane limb from limb.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah.
Yeah, we can sell his spleen.
We can sell his spleen. I wonder if I can buy some food and some lodging with Billy's liver. It's like here's the tongue here's the tongue that sang us the sweet lies of Fire Festival. And I bet you wouldn't have actually gotten in trouble. There would have been so many of you, they can't arrest all of you, and not all of you could have been implicated in this murder. Oh my god. God, man. Yeah. Great. And like you said, like, because they kept solving problems and they kept working to keep it going, it just got worse and worse and worse. I remember talking to my dad, watching this, going, there was a lot of points, Dad, that you thought that they were going to end it, but they didn't. He said, yeah, you thought they were going to end it with the water thing, right? He goes, yeah. They kept going. And when the rainstorm came, you thought they were going to end it. He was like, yeah, they didn't. And
you literally took it.
he was literally going to suck
He
dick.
did, like, the power would have saved us either way. As he did, and his power was still bombed.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's gonna hit
But yeah, but the thing is that if there was no water, no one could have came. They would have. If there was no water, no one could have came because they were going to die. If everyone was going to die, then it was impossible. They could not bring them there. But because they weren't going to die, they could still invite them there. Anything short of massacres and mass death and starvation was enough. Anything less was enough to keep the festival going for at least a day. But because they kept solving those tiny problems, and because he convinced Customs to let the water through after offering to suck his dick, he's like, okay, you know what? I'm not. Like, I don't think anyone has tried to suck my dick for a truck of water before. I'm just gonna, like, if it wasn't that, yeah. I bet if he didn't go down there and like try to talk to him, then they probably wouldn't have gotten the water. They would have just had him give up. But Billy asked him to suck his dick. What the fuck? He's like, you're our gay leader. You're gay, right? Suck his dick. Yeah.
Is he actually?
I believe he was gay, or I don't know. The way Billy spoke implied that he didn't know he was gay because he just knew him for that long. So he brought up his homosexuality as some kind of reason of why he wanted him to go and suck the custom officer's dick, which is, It was horrendous.
Late goodbye, Jack.
Man.
And I think there's another documentary out. It's Theranos, actually. Hear that one? Basically about a woman who started her own like biomedical tech company to sell your personal blood testing units. So it's like a machine you can bring home and to test your blood, and it's just as good as a lab. Guess what?
It's so sweet.
It didn't fucking work.
Okay.
But she got everyone to say it did fucking work.
Oh, I never heard it.
Yeah.
I never heard
And
it.
she had a very deep voice like this or something like that. It was really weird.
Fake, I think.
It was a really fake deep voice for reasons I don't know. And she had this big, like, black turtleneck, like she would pretend to be Steve Jobs.
Sociopath, basically.
Yeah. This company called Theranos. And it was just this big fucking cult bullshit of defraud. It was again defrauding investors and shit.
Oh yeah, so TanaCon. So she's a famous YouTuber.
Mm-hmm.
Tana. I forgot her actual name, it doesn't matter. But yeah, she made her own, she tried making her own convention. That rivals, you know, the
PAX.
YouTube convention. I forgot what that's actually called.
I know PAX is one of them.
No, not PAX. PAX is gaming.
Oh.
But anyway, she tried to convince a bunch of influencers, oversold tickets. It was just one building.
Oh my god.
One hallway. There was a bunch of people dehydrated. Someone actually had to be like. And
Did he show you Rainforest?
no.
Oh, that's a much shorter video. That's
Internet historian.
Internet historian, yeah. Oh god, yeah, but I don't know what it is, but like, I don't think people don't understand that they need to organize logistics to make the shit work, and they need time to plan, and I don't know why people don't understand that. It's sort of like why like shitty people are in upper management, because the people with the confidence and the drive to be in upper management, a lot of the times lack the self-doubt required to be
We could do something about that. But...
Yeah. So like, think of all the things you would have to do in upper management, and think of all of your shortcomings, all of the different conflicting strategies or things that need to be done. This will work, but not if we also do this thing. All those different, like, hard questions that require a lot of critical thinking and self-evaluation and come to self-doubt, that keeps you from accepting a managerial position or looking for one. People who aren't really concerned with that stuff and are just going to go forward with bad ideas that get things done anyway, those people end up in management because they're not as afraid as you.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy stupid. Jeez, Carl.
They don't understand the weight of having a manager.
What are you trying to do?
This coming.
That's what bosses suck. It's a different
Bitch.
Well, no, some bosses are actually... No, it's the trend of that boss.
Your principal.
Did you know my dining room manager had like surgery?
Really?
And he was up for like a month.
Really?
And that was the best month.
Oh my god.
Gosh, the schedule wasn't
Oh.
fucked up. Yeah, the schedule wasn't fucked up. on there?
Sorry, I'm not trying to space.
The schedule, everyone, well, tomorrow, like, I don't know, it's actually felt like a major job.
But then, it's the funny thing is that the bosses are the shittiest part, are usually the shittiest part of the job for most people.
Because right before, when I got my job, I liked my job. It's just behind me.
The question is, do you need a boss? Does your workplace really need a boss?
You can work some. Well, if you can gather a group to talk about these things while look into any problems and issues, then we can solve it ourselves as a group, and it'll notify everyone
Instead of keeping information just at management, everyone's on the same page all the time because everyone has to discuss it or is at least in on it. And this is what we call the beginnings of what we call anarcho-syndicalism, where it's anarchist as in there's no hierarchy because you as workers are all equal and you all get an equal say in a thing, and you don't have a boss over you telling you what to do. Syndicalism as in you basically organize your own workplace, right? Where the company, quote unquote, and your collection of workers, like your own tiny little government that you democratically decide how to do things and stuff like that. And, shit like that just kind of points out that maybe bosses aren't necessary. The corporate structure is kind of redundant and doesn't actually serve you as workers or serves to make better products. So, plus there's no upper management. You get to keep all that extra revenue for yourself.
it's just how to organize yourself from the get-go.
Yeah.
So then, if we're doing this whole same page thing, there will be people that will quit eventually.
Yeah.
And you always want to have someone from the previous work before, and not have everyone quit at once, or else the company.
Absolutely. There would have to be organization, but, just because someone has extra experience doesn't mean that they're going to have, like, automatic power over you, right? So yeah. That's sort of the interesting challenge of it. But, it is very much doable. Workplace can be organized in such a way, whereas there isn't a boss, but rather there are plenty of people who are able to speak authoritatively on things.
You kind of want a mediator, not a boss.
Absolutely. Let's see. It's 11:23 right now. Do you think we should be heading home?
Probably.
Yeah. I need to be up early in the morning to have the kids. No one's gonna be at home tomorrow morning, so I have to be awake.
How about you, Brian?
No, it's my my brother-in-law and sister.
I call my family my folks as well.
I just thought it'd be like another word for parents.
Well, it's my, as in my people, my people. It's just my folk. We're simple folk. We live off the land. We eat of the.
We eat
of the commissary. Straight up out of the aisles when no one is looking. We share the same swing sets as the other infant children. Anarcho-syndicalism. Yeah. Yeah, so the union is like the first step towards like anarchism. Basically, it is workers organizing themselves as to basically posture against their employers and listen. We're not going to take the long hours. You can't intimidate us. And if you decide that you're not going to value us as workers, we're just going to punish you as much as possible. We're going to enact work slowdowns. You intentionally work slowly so that nothing gets done. Or you strike, where you basically take over the building and keep people from working in there. Stuff like that. And of course, like the most important thing with unionization is to get workers. So the best way is to get people from all jobs and all skill levels. Whether if it's like a video game, like you're like a gaming company, whether you're a developer or the fucking janitor, you all need to organize into the same union so that everything shuts down. You need to organize with every other workplace simultaneously. You need to organize with everyone else in the stores. So in Walmart, the meat everyone in the meat processing part, the delis, all try to unionize. But they just got rid of the delis because they didn't want to deal with it. What made it work is if instead of every deli in every Walmart unionized, it was every fucking employee, whether you're a cashier or a greeter, then what are they going to do? Shut down every Walmart at once? They can't. No, they can't. They can shut down an entire section. They can close down a store. They can't fucking close all of them. And that's why early labor action failed, because of racism. Whites only unions. Those unions fell apart because black workers scabbed, because of course they did. Or are they going to forego work? Early unions failed because housekeepers kept working because they were unskilled, and the skilled laborers stopped working. No one else did, so it didn't work all that well. But it's until everyone strikes. All skills and professions from every industry, every job. And that's what you call a general strike. It's like in Germany, the fascists tried to take over the country before Hitler ever did. What happened? The general strike. Those soldiers came, they took the entire city hostage, and the government said, "Alright, everybody, it's time for a general strike." And they went, "What?" They said, "Okay." All the workers working in plumbing stopped. Water was no longer running from the faucets. You couldn't get food anywhere. The soldiers said, "Hey, we need money." And they said, "Fuck you. We're locking up the bank and we're refusing to work." They said, "Hey, soldiers, Germany, we need your help. We're not going to help you. Also, we've been giving you guns and ammo this whole time. We're not doing that anymore." They locked up the armory. There was no food, no water, no guns, no money. No matter whether it's bankers, coal heaters, soldiers, farmers, workers, no one refused to do fucking anything, and they told you to get the fuck out of our city. And within 3 days, despite having guns, artillery, and aircraft threatening and shooting people, they left. Because what are they going to do with the city people refuse to do anything? And so that's how Germany avoided the first fascist takeover.
Where do I go?
Is the general strike. It wasn't until people decided that they thought, we need a strong leader and blame the Jews for everything. It's not until then that they became a fascist country. As long as people realize that all workers are united in one cause, and not just scapegoat other minorities and stuff like that, or try to focus all of your hatred externally, right? Because only then can people actually take back power. You know, and so one way is the Maoist approach, which is you massacre all the landlords and then no one's got to pay rent no more. But that kind of sucks. And Stalinist Russia didn't work out too great. The other option is anarcho-syndicalism, where you organize everyone by their industry. So all everyone who works in shipping and stuff are all part of the same union. They run it and operate it, and they're like their own little government, run by the workers, and everyone who's all their industries sort of are like their own little bits of government. The main point is that everything's built around industries, run democratically by the workers. It's a whole thing. The point is that everyone has relatively equal amounts of political power, and everyone benefits from all the work they do. People who can't work, or unable to work, or whatever, are still supported. Like people who are sick or disabled, or they're retired, are still supported. Right? So Interesting.
If I start up my own company, I think I want to put that to test.
Put it to test. So there's a lot of issues with building co-ops, which is what I imagine you're thinking of. Which is it's when all the workers cooperatively own a business. So everyone has a share in it. So
I wouldn't say that.
Well,
How do I put this? It's a normal business. You have your workers.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like there's no real
Yeah. For the way for that to work is that there cannot be a CEO or a owner, for example, because that means there's someone who is taking in a lot of money for work they're not doing. Even, for example, if an owner were to be working, there's no way that they can earn twice as much as any other worker, or they can't earn 5 times as much as any other worker. Right? So it's important that all the employees have equal ownership, because that means they have a vested interest in their job. You do your job well because it will make the business successful, and therefore you will make more money. You take part in democratic decision making because it is in your interest. Your livelihood, your workplace, and your hours are all settled democratically. So you participate and become part of this community of people in your workplace. So we vote for things like on taxes, on laws and stuff. We might vote on a candidate on the vague promise they're not going to take us into a war, or the vague promise that we're going to go to war or whatever. But we don't get to choose things like on what our work hours are going to be, what our pay is going to be, or how much, what safety precautions are we going to be afforded for doing a dangerous job, right? We don't get to choose that stuff. We just got to hope that a company will gives enough of a shit not to let us die, or to be given proper overtime, or to give us benefits. And in that case, you have no choice. It is very undemocratic. It's like authoritarian almost, because although you get to choose where you work, there's only so many places you can work, and also you need to pay rent and you need to buy groceries. That is I think Jim Sterling, as hilarious and hyperbolic as he is, he says they always use the gun to your head excuse. We didn't put a gun to anyone's head to force them to stay overtime. He says, yeah, but some of these people have bought houses and moved here to work for your company. Their lives depend that they keep their job. And he's like, that's as potent as a physical threat on their person, because it's a threat to their lives. So, and that's the reality of capitalism, and that's why socialism is alternative, where the workers own their workplace and stuff, and they make their own decisions instead of a owner or set of investors or a corporate hierarchy deciding instead. So, and the thing is that because of like 100 years of people, 100 years of propaganda, of like political happenings, of revolution and stuff like that, and a lot of bad attempts at the system, people don't know what these words mean anymore. Like, people have different words of describing socialism or anarchy. People think anarchy is just crazy shit happening everywhere, but that's just kind of what's been ascribed to it, not what it means, right? And most countries that call themselves socialist, even now, like Venezuela, most of their economy is privatized. They're relying on, most people are relying on a privately owned workplace to pay their bills, and the socialism is actually quite limited. But it so there's a few people that I watch where I learned about this stuff, for example, and there's a lot of weirdos constantly fighting back against it.
Okay, so per se that you hire someone.
Yeah.
They're just totally slacking off.
Yeah. Yeah.
How would one fire said person?
So, if everyone in the workplace, and the thing is, this is something that everyone who had preceded them would basically organize something around this, where they go, okay, so when you go sign on with us, you sign a contract. These are our expectations of you as an employee. You have these rights, and you have these privileges, and you get these benefits. Well, you have to fulfill certain obligations, and if we decide that you do not fulfill these obligations, you don't get to be here. So, a noted anarchist, a guy on YouTube says, so the funny thing is that under anarchism, instead of a guy making decisions or a handful of people making decisions, we're all basically working off of predetermined agreements or contracts, so to speak. Guaranteed rights and privileges, mandatory standards and responsibilities. If you can't fulfill them, you're out. Or if you, stuff like that, and mainly this ideology is built around empathy, right? It's like, whereas capitalism kind of is built around spitting on poor people. It's like even though a lot of people don't really feel this way, want to believe it. A lot of people seem to think that if you're poor, it's because you deserve to be poor, because you're lazy. Yeah, exactly. Just no fallacy. Or you're doing bad for a good reason or something like that. And that's why you always get right-wing pundits go like sort of implying that, hey, how come people of color are not doing good? People have been laboring in this country for like centuries. Some people's lot of communities are just not getting better, and the government has not been kind to them, and laws are enforced unequally against them. And for some reason, the state seems fine with turning their water into tar water. And not doing anything about it. And all in all in this stuff, and the response is, well, we live in a meritocracy. If we're not doing well, it's because, and so basically they're saying in so many words without saying it, black people are poor because they're not as good or something like that. And the thing is that they'll never say it out loud, right? But it is all but implied when they mean what they mean. Oh, I'm tired of seeing all this forced representation. It's so dumb, when it's really that the person who's doing well doesn't look like me, or that makes me upset. And the thing is that
K-pop girl?
I guess guys listen to pop.
And the thing is that, like, for a lot of people, it's not up here. They don't necessarily rationalize this stuff. It's something they feel in, like, their lizard brain. You know? There's a bunch of basic assumptions that we sort of are raised with that we don't really question. And certain feelings that we kind of get involuntarily, right? It's like, you know, it's a joke that people like are oversensitive and that they're calling everyone racist, and you know, some people do, but the thing is that, like, it's more like a lot of people just aren't conscious of the way they treat people, and you can subconsciously treat people unequal, and it's really shitty.
Time to go now? Or?
Hard to deal with, and yeah, we should probably go, but you know. But anyways, yeah. So the same people who are mad about LGBTQ people are often the same people who are down on, are not good, who don't like workers' rights, or same group of people who say climate change ain't real are the same people who want more imperialist wars. You know.
See you later.
A lot of the people who